All right, welcome everybody. This is Monday, April 8th, 2019. It's our regularly scheduled town council meeting. We have all members of council present. Mr. Reed, are you still there?
Yes, I am.
He's on delay. So, Mr. Reed by telephone, if you just note that, everybody else is present, as is our first selectman, Mr. Kellogg. We have now may have a motion to go into executive session to discuss strategy negotiations with respect to a pending claim.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Palace. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Formicella. Any discussion?
Chairman, before you continue, I respectfully request that you invite myself, the assessor, Mr. Feldman, and town attorney Hayden to join you in executive session.
So we will invite those individuals into the executive session, incorporate that into the motion. Any objections to that incorporation?
Nope.
Okay. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor? And against? Mr. Reed, vote. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Is that coercive?
Little.
Okay. All right, motion carries 9-0. If everybody would just excuse us, please. Are we off the record?
Yeah, you're off the record.
I see buttons get pressed. That's 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, yeah. Well,
And don't forget Terry. The police.
Yeah.
All right, we're out of executive session officially.
we try our best.
Work quick. I knew you were going to say that.
My 6th paid her to say 11th grade.
She pays her in
I'd
candy.
give you an extra copy of the agenda.
Frank was on my good student.
I wouldn't try to burn anything in the beakers.
No.
Seem to have lost.
All right, we're out of executive session. Mr. Reed, you still with us?
Yes.
All right. So we're going to move on to the consent calendar. Are there any comments, objections, or otherwise to the consent calendar? All right, seeing none, I'll pass the consent calendar as is. We have communications A through L. I'd ask that they be incorporated into the minutes of this meeting. And that brings us to the first public participation session. Would anybody like to participate at this time? Only looking at my two usual suspects, I see no interest. Thank you. I will close the first public participation session. We have a number of appointments in two categories. First is Mr. Carlos Reynoso Jr. of 96 Gabauer Road to the Youth Commission for a term ending October 12, 2019. Is there a motion, Ms. Martin?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. I would like to move forward the name of Carlos Reynoso Jr., 96 Gabauer Road to the Youth Commission for a term ending 10/12/19.
Motion by Ms. Martin. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Maurer. For discussion, Ms. Martin, I'll turn the floor to you.
Thank you. This appointment satisfies Chapter 4, Section 21 of the Monroe Town Charter, requiring, quote, a representative of a private youth agency, end quote. This appointment shall be conditional and contingent upon Mr. Reynoso remaining in a leadership role with Monroe AYSO for the duration of this term. Mr. Reynoso and his wife and 4 children have been residents of Monroe for 15 years. He holds a Master of Science in Management and Organizational Leadership, a Bachelor of Science in a dual major of Psychology and Human Resources. His expertise encompasses working in the fields of juvenile justice, public and community health, education, mental health, addiction, and recovery. Mr. Reynoso has trained and educated thousands of community members and public officials in the area of prevention, advocacy, cultural competency, and community engagement. Has over 20 years of volunteer experience in numerous capacities, including being a volunteer coach, commissioner, and a board member of the Monroe AYSO since 2004. And this appointment fills the vacancy created by Maria Buran.
Thank you, Ms. Martin. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
I'm sorry, we already
Jason
seconded.
nominated.
Getting back in the groove.
Okay.
Any further discussion is what I meant to say. Ms. Aguilar.
I would just like to voice my approval of Mr. Reynoso, knowing him personally from youth stuff and how he likes to get community together. And I think it's great. I think it'd be a great fit. Thank you. When we first heard your name, when somebody first recommended it, I thought that was a perfect fit, so thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Aguilar. Anybody else? I'll also say I've known Mr. Reynoso. I think this is an excellent candidate for this commission. He's always advanced youth sports in the interests of kids in town. And although he falls just a tad short of his brother, I think he'll do exceptionally well in this appointment. So good luck and thank you for volunteering. That'll be a joke between us.
I don't know his brother at all.
Any further discussion?
I feel compelled.
Mr. Rooney?
Yeah, I've known Carlos for a while. I agree with what everybody said here. He always seems to dive into community involvement. He's always putting his best foot forward for the community, for the kids. And I think it's a very good appointment for somebody who does so much for children in this town to be on the youth commission. So,
Great. Anybody else? All right, seeing no further discussion, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? And Mr. Reed, your vote verbally, please.
Yeah, he's all right.
Is that an aye?
That's an aye.
All right, thank you. So that
John Carlos.
motion carries 9-0. Congratulations. Would you like to come forward and be sworn in now? Save yourself a trip.
Do you solemnly swear or solemnly and sincerely affirm, as the case may be, that you will faithfully discharge, according to law, your duties as a member of the youth commission to the best of your abilities, so help you God, or upon penalty of perjury? Congratulations. Thank you very much.
You want a better picture than that? Yeah, might as well take the opportunity.
Yeah.
I'll send
If
you
you
one,
want.
Steve.
Mr. Kellogg, come on.
We'll do a selfie.
This is something we have to work on, you and,
put it in the Monroe Courier.
We took one from up here, too, so
I'll send it.
we have a different angle.
I like that. That looks better.
I doubt it.
All right.
Good luck, thank you.
Thank you, Carlos.
Thank you.
There's a lot of comments, Carlos, just so you know. I mean, normally we stay silent up here. I don't know what you did before the meeting. But. All right, moving on to B. Appointments to the Memorial Day Parade Committee. As you'll notice in your communications, items J and K were memos from the first selectman regarding the Memorial Day Parade Committee, the establishment, and then the actual appointments. So may I have a motion to approve the appointments of Robert Tranzillo, Kevin Daly, Jonathan Stone, Raymond Ganzer, Ashish Verma, Vita Stone, and Ken Weelk to
So
the
moved.
committee?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. LaPellis, second by Mr. Rooney. And for discussion, I'll allow you to just explain this if you wish, Mr. Kellogg. Obviously, it's self-explanatory.
I
But
think it's pretty self-explanatory. Obviously, as you read in my memo, I'm looking to ensure that it's, the committee is properly established and that we properly recognize the volunteers that are dedicated and put this off every year. I think I've kind of outlined how the committee will function pretty much the same way it does currently. And I think it's important that we just properly establish them through this, as per the charter, that the committee members be formally, my appointments be approved by the council.
Great. Thank you very much. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? And Mr. Reed, verbally, please.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Motion carries 9-0. Moving on to action items. A, we have the Town Council Committee on Finance, Education, Health, and Public Safety Matters. Do we have a report on that, Commission?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No, we have not met since last council.
Okay. Moving on to B, Town Council Committee on Planning and Zoning, Public Works, and Parks and Recreation. Is there a report from that subcommittee?
There was nothing pertaining to the town council as such.
Okay. C is LNA. Is there a report, Mr. Reed, from LNA?
Yeah, there is. We did meet last week and have discussed a number of items that are brought here tonight. And to move forward, Mr. Chairman, I will be scheduling at least an hour to an hour and a half during to go over and finish the rules of procedure. So myself and Ms. Aguilar will be reaching out to both sides, making sure we have the final comments, and then I'm hoping we can wrap it up then.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Strategic planning is still a committee, but we need to have someone become the chairman to kind of move that forward. That has not happened yet, and I will see to it that that appointment is, or that's revitalized at least, or reestablished, as Mr. Condon is not with us at the current time. I don't know if anybody has any information, or Mr. Kelly, if you have anything you want to report? No?
Nothing
Okay,
at this point.
moving on. EMS building, is there anything to report from that committee?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. We did meet tonight prior to council. As you know, we had an RFP out for the construction manager. We had 3 establishments respond. We looked at all their proposals tonight. We have decided to bring 2 back to speak with. We are anticipating an April 23rd meeting. And that is all for now.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Rooney. And last, we have the first Selectman's update. I presume there's an update from you, Mr. Keller?
It is coming down the dais as we speak.
Thank you.
2 updates, both related to the state DOT. So first I want to mention that the work that was completed this weekend, first of all, it was completed 16 hours ahead of schedule. The roadway was opened at 5 p.m. Sunday, which was phenomenal, but even even better is that they were able to complete in that amount of time 2 weekends worth of work in that one weekend. So with that, there is only 1 remaining detour that needs to be scheduled. DOT said they will be doing that in the upcoming months. And that final work will be to finish raising the roadway, the final grading and the paving. And then as an update, the second item as an update to the traffic light at Bradford Drive and Route 25, the State Department of Transportation has honored my request to hold a public information session. I'm in the process of scheduling that right now, and my estimate at this point probably sometime in May, but certainly plenty of time to give everyone notice.
Great. Sure. Ms. Martin?
Mr. Kellogg, the last time we had a public information session was on the Rotary,
Yeah.
and it was somewhat of a fait accompli by the time people were here to speak on it. Was your feeling in this discussion with them that they're still open to what people were on?
My ask was simply to allow the avenue for information to be exchanged and give the public a chance to, speak directly to DOT. The individual I was speaking with really was from the commissioner's office, really not the people on the ground on the project. So the answer is I didn't have one indication one way or the other. I was simply trying to move forward the opportunity for the public to be heard.
Okay, good. All right, thank you.
Sagular.
Mr. Kellogg, this is on a different note. I've been reading a lot in the newspapers and on Facebook town things about recycling, and there's a lot of confusion out there on now what can be recycled. Is there any way for us to find out what we can recycle with the glass problem now?
So it is on the RWS site.
It is,
We can
okay.
also, I believe it's on the town's, a link is on the town's page as well.
And that's
but
updated?
We could find a way to put that, make it maybe a little bit more prominent.
Okay.
At this point, there are no changes to the state requirements as to what has to go in the recycle bins.
Okay,
So there are some conversations about a potential pilot program, which is operating in other areas to remove glass and have that as a separate container or some other process, but
Yeah.
That has not occurred in our local area.
Okay.
So at this point, it's saying, well, we can, bless you, we can,
That's-
I can look to make sure we have updated information out there. I believe there's also
Here's a link.
I believe the Deep also has a page to, because what they try to move for is have consistency in terms of what can and can't be recycled as well, although I understand there's that pilot issue in glass going on right now in some communities. But I think there is some more information out there as well. But
Okay,
at this point, my message, the message really is nothing's changed yet.
okay.
And the last thing I want to do is come out with information that's kind of not really
Premature.
finalized, yeah.
Okay.
But at some point, things have to change.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Thank you.
Well,
Anybody else? All right. We will move on. We have no unfinished business. We have a number of items of new business this evening. Item A is the resolution regarding the Southwestern Connecticut Agency on Aging's standard assurances. Mr. Pellis?
I will introduce the following resolution. Resolution regarding Southwestern Connecticut Agency on Aging, SWCIA, standard assurances. Resolved that Kenneth M. Kellogg, first selectman of the town of Monroe, is authorized to execute and deliver on behalf of the town of Monroe the grant applications of the Southwestern Connecticut Agency on Aging, known as SWCIA, that incorporate the SWCIA standard assurances and move for its adoption.
We have a motion by way of resolution by Ms. LaPallas. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Aguilar. For discussion purposes, I can turn the floor over to you, Mr. Kellogg.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, as you might recall from the last grant from this agency, which is kind of known as SWCIA, the last grant that this council saw, last grant application, had these exact standard assurances document included in the grant application itself. This is one of those grants that half of the terms and conditions seem to be buried in the grant application, and then when the final contract comes in, we get the balance. There are a couple of grants that are currently in the process of being applied for. However, the turnaround times will be very tight. We've realized that the standard assurances are identical in all of these SWCIA grants at this point. So what I'm asking the council to do is approve and agree to these terms and conditions so that we can continue to apply for these grants, knowing that the final contract and final grant package will come to us for your approval at that point as well. And it has been reviewed by our town attorney.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Kellogg. Any further discussion?
What are older Americans? I may take umbrage at that. There was no age in that thing. I read it a few times. I hope
I
it's
believe that's a
person
federal,
over 95.
that's a federal act. You'll have to ask.
President Trump.
All right. Any further discussion?
Do you know?
All right. Seeing none, I will call for a vote. All those in favor? And Mr. Reed?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries 9-0. Moving on to item B is the resolution regarding the Mick and Mick performance contract.
I will introduce the following resolution. Resolution to approve Mick and Mick performance agreement. Resolved that Kenneth M. Kellogg, first selectman of the town of Monroe, is authorized to execute and deliver on behalf of the town of Monroe the performance agreement and any associated documents by and between Mick and Mick for a musical performance to be held during an upcoming character dinner, and move for its adoption.
Motion by way of resolution by Ms. LaPallas. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Martin. For discussion, I know we have Ms. Oro's present, but as I customarily do, I'll let you introduce it, Mr. Kellogg.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, there is a revised memo and resolution before you that corrects a typo in the name Mick. Apparently, an initial document that came over from them they had spelled their own name wrong in one of the agreements, so we have realized that and corrected it, so everything is consistent now. So basically, Ms. Oros has worked with this group to engage them for a performance at one of the character dinners. It's pretty straightforward. I'd be happy to let her speak about it further if you have any questions.
Any further discussion, questions? Ms. Aguilar?
Mr. Chairman, we did discuss this in LNA and approved it to bring to council in LNA.
Thank you very much. Anything further?
The town attorney has reviewed
Is there an age requirement for this?
Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
Older Americans.
And Mr. Reed?
Yep.
That's an aye? Yes?
Aye.
Okay. Or whatever you want to do, other than yep. All right, motion carries 9-0. I'm just being hard on you. Item C is the resolution regarding the future Heavies performance agreement. Is there a motion?
I will introduce the following resolution. Resolution to approve the future Heavies performance agreement. Resolved that Kenneth M. Kellogg, first selectman of the town of Monroe, is authorized to execute and deliver on behalf of the town of Monroe the performance agreement and any associated documents by and between the future Heavies for the musical performance during the Party at the Park town event, and move for its adoption.
Motion by Ms. LaPels. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Mauer. Again, Mr. Kellogg for introduction.
Thank you. So, first, just for clarity, so that we are going to have, as I mentioned, a couple of meetings, the budget meeting being one of them, looking to kind of revitalize the lake side of the park. One of the ideas is to actually have a party at the lake. I think I put party at the park, but it's party at the lake is the concept. And what Ms. Oros has identified for one of those events is to have a band, which is the Future Heavies. I think she's actually seen them, so we have her approval. If you don't like the band later, you can blame her, right? No, but she said it's going to be a good band, and it's going to add to the overall event. And I should have mentioned, as was the last agreement, this was reviewed by our town attorney, and we have our the standard contract addendum for performances that he's prepared in the past is incorporated in this agreement, as was the last.
Okay, thank you very much. Any further discussion? Ms. Aguilar?
Mr. Chairman, again, we did discuss this in L&A, and it was approved to bring to council. And I'd also like to thank Missy for doing such a great job in negotiating these contracts, because they're great prices for some great entertainment.
Anybody else? All right, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Mr. Reed, for or against?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries 9-0. Item D is the resolution regarding the Big Wave Events contract. Mr. Powers?
Yes, I'll introduce the following resolution. Resolution to approve Big Wave Events Incorporated contract and rider, Wolf Park Movie Night. Resolved that Kenneth M. Kellogg, first selectman of the town of Monroe, is authorized to execute and deliver on behalf of the town of Monroe the agreement and any associated documents by and between Big Wave Events Incorporated for the movie night at Wolf Park, and move for its adoption.
Motion by Ms. LaPels. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Aguilar. Again, Mr. Kellogg for discussion.
So in the same theme, the intent here is to take it's the same vendor that did our movie night in the main park area near the pool. This actually would be one of the lake events as well, where we're going to have a movie night at the lake.
Okay.
And the town attorney has reviewed this one as well.
Mr. Mauer?
Two items. One, I noticed that the payment guarantee, it says $2,500, $1,250, but then when it's spelled out, it says $2,485. I didn't know if we might want to correct that for signature, so that the actual payment terms are clear throughout.
You don't like the ambiguity where we make it a $15 discount?
I don't like any ambiguity in a contract.
Good answer, Mr. Mauer.
So they're charging admission for this, I'm assuming?
No.
No, even though it's so expensive. Okay,
Your admission are your taxes, Ms. LaPels.
that's fine.
And then my second item is there a reason that we don't have the independent contractor agreement for this particular one that we do have for the others?
My understanding is that there's another rider, and that Attorney Hayden was comfortable with it, but I'll let him speak to that.
Independent contractor language, Jeremy Hayden, record. It's on our rider, our standard rider. Let's see, attached here. excuse me, one second, let me see.
I think it's on the back,
It's on the back,
on the back page.
double-sided.
Always.
Anyway, it's on our rider that's attached to all these performers. Do you know if they've approved this? Have they accepted the rider yet?
Yeah, Tanya has it. Yeah.
Okay. So if you look, we have it on the other ones, Mr. Mauer?
So that has been signed for this one as well.
I gave everything to
Beautiful.
Tanya the other day, so maybe just didn't make a packet.
Then,
That's a good answer.
then my only request, I would move that we amend the motion to authorize signature pending the fix of the ambiguity of the pricing to be consistent throughout the document.
Okay, so is that a motion to amend?
Yeah.
It is.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Aguilar. Discussion, I think it's pretty clear. All right, I'll call for a vote on the amendment to the motion. All those in favor? Mr. Reed, yea or nay?
Aye.
That's a good one.
Yay.
I like that. Two yeses from Mr. Reed. So we have the amended motion with Mr. Mauer's proposed fix. Any further discussion on the amended motion? All right, seeing none, I will call for a vote on the motion before us. All those in favor? Mr. Reed?
Aye.
Motion carries 9-0. Item E is the resolution authorizing the town attorney to settle the tax appeal, 535 Monroe Turnpike. Ms. Palace, is there a motion?
I will introduce the following resolution, resolution authorizing town attorney to settle tax appeal for 535 Monroe Turnpike, and move for its adoption.
We have a motion by Mr. Palace. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Martin. We discussed this matter in executive session, so unless there's any discussion that would be appropriate for a public session, I see none. I will call for a vote. All those in favor? And Mr. Reed?
Aye.
Motion carries 9-0, leaving us with item F, which is a postponement of April 22nd, 2019 meeting, which is during spring break, to the following week, April 29th. We don't really formally need a motion, but we've always kind of done it that way, so just want to make sure that it's on the calendar. Mr. Mauer has moved for that. Is there a second?
I second it.
Mr. Pellis seconds it. Any discussion, problems, objections? All right, all those in favor? Mr. Reed?
Aye.
Motion carries 9-0. That is all the business we have this evening. We have second public participation. If any, going once, going twice. Mr. Reynoso?
I just want to end it by saying thank you to all of you. Thank you for the comments, I appreciate it all. And so thank you for your questions.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, seeing none, I'll close second public participation. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Pellis, second by Mr. Mauer. All those in favor?
Good luck, Jason.
Mr. Reed?
Good luck.
Aye.
Motion carries 9-0. Good night.